Imagine a poor child in Brooklyn, the son of Russian Jewish immigrants, surrounded by violence, prejudice, and loneliness. This child grew up feeling disconnected from the world until he discovered a burning desire to understand what makes people happy, fulfilled, and human. This child was Abraham Maslow. He didn't want to study the sick, like most psychologists of his time. He wanted to study the wisest, the most accomplished, those who found purpose, inner peace, and a higher meaning to live. This is how the theory of self-actualization was born, and with it, humanistic psychology. In this video, we will explore Maslow's life, work, and revolutionary ideas, and discover how his hierarchy of needs can guide us toward our Ikigai. Abraham Harold Maslow was born in 1908 in New York City and lived until 1970. He was a deeply sensitive man, critical of the mechanistic psychology of his time, and passionate about understanding human potential. Creator of the so-called third force in psychology, the humanistic psychology, Maslow believed that humans are not merely machines conditioned by stimuli or patients trapped by traumas, but rather seekers of meaning, evolution, and transcendence. He studied creative geniuses, visionary leaders, extraordinary ordinary people, and identified something in common. All were engaged in the pursuit of self-actualization. Maslow's pyramid is now taught worldwide, but his theory goes far beyond textbooks. It speaks of hunger, but also of freedom. It speaks of security, but also of self-expression. It speaks of belonging, but also of transcending oneself. The base of the pyramid represents physiological needs: food, sleep, shelter. Next comes safety, stability, protection. Next, love and belonging, friendship, intimacy, connection. At the top, esteem, recognition, self-respect. And above all of this, self-actualization. Maslow saw self-actualization as the peak of the human experience. It's when you become who you were born to be. It's when your gift finds its place in the world. It's when living becomes an expression of your essence. For the Ikigai channel, this journey has a name: awakening. In this video, we will explore the 5 levels of the pyramid in depth, provide real-life examples, quotes from the author, and a clear invitation to see yourself in this journey and choose to move forward. May Maslow's psychology illuminate your path to self-actualization, and in the end, may you be closer to finding your Ikigai. Abraham Maslow revolutionized psychology by proposing that humans do not live solely to survive, they live to realize themselves. To explain this, he organized human motivations into a structure known worldwide as the Hierarchy of Needs. This pyramid describes a natural progression. First, we satisfy the basic needs, then we seek the sublime. Let's list the pyramid from the bottom to the top. 1. Physiological needs. The base of the pyramid. It represents what the body needs to survive: air, water, food, sleep, shelter, warmth, sexual activity. When these needs are unmet, they completely dominate our attention. An empty stomach screams louder than any lofty purpose. Maslow said that a hungry human being only thinks about bread. 2. Safety needs. When the basics are met, we seek stability: physical security, financial security, health security, order, predictability. Children need safe environments. Adults need protection from fear and uncertainty. In an unstable world, people revert to this level. Therefore, emotional security and stability are as essential as a roof over one's head. 3. Needs of love and belonging. We are social beings. After surviving and feeling secure, we want to connect. Emotional bonds, friendships, family, intimacy, social groups. Loneliness, rejection, and isolation deeply wound this level. Humans need to feel accepted before they can express themselves. Needs of esteem. When we feel we belong, the desire for self-worth arises: self-esteem, confidence, recognition, competence, mutual respect. Lack of esteem leads to insecurity, inferiority, and stagnation. Maslow distinguishes two types of self-esteem: one based on external validation, toxic, and another based on self-respect, constructive. 5. Self-actualization, the top of the pyramid. This is the highest level. Here we seek to realize our potential, live authentically, grow continuously, to create, serve, lead, meditate, teach, transform, express the gift of the soul. Self-actualization is when you no longer live out of obligation, but out of meaning. It's when you don't just survive, you thrive. Maslow identified that few people fully reach this level, but all have the potential to walk toward it, even if only partially. The journey up the pyramid is not rigid. We can fluctuate between levels. A crisis can pull us down. Healing can propel us upward. Life is movement, and awareness of where we are is the first step to choosing where we want to be. Now let's delve into self-actualization, as Maslow defined it, and how it manifests in real life. Because the top of the pyramid is also the meeting point with our Ikigai. If the Maslow pyramid shows us the ladder of human motivation, the top of this ladder reveals something sublime: self-actualization. But what exactly does this mean? For Maslow, self-actualization is the desire to become increasingly what one is, to become all that one is capable of being. It is the drive to realize one's own potential, not out of vanity, but out of truth. Unlike other psychological approaches that focused on illness, traumas, or observable behaviors, Maslow was interested in understanding the key or peaks of human experience. He wanted to know what makes a person flourish. Self-actualization is when you create not to impress, but to express. Work not for status, but for passion. Love not out of need, but for expansion. Act not out of fear, but out of alignment. It is the artist who paints what he feels, the teacher who teaches out of vocation, the doctor who serves out of love, the spiritual seeker who dives into himself. It's not about being perfect. It's about being authentic. For Maslow, self-actualized people have a keen perception of reality without idealistic distortions, are spontaneous, creative, and ethical, value simplicity and truth, experience peak moments, states of ecstasy, fusion with the whole, deep insight, are motivated by growth values, truth, beauty, justice, compassion. Self-actualization is not a destination, it is a way of being. Maslow identified that people who reached this stage were driven by a higher motivation, the motivation to grow, in contrast to deficiency motivation. While deficiency motivation seeks to fill a void, growth motivation is abundant. It comes from overflowing. For the Ikigai channel, this concept resonates deeply. Self-actualization is not just a personal goal, it is a spiritual achievement. It is the point where your most authentic self aligns with your purpose of existence. Humanistic psychology brought to the world the idea that mental health is not just the absence of suffering, it is lived fulfillment. And the path of self-actualization, as Maslow showed, is possible for all who choose to walk the path of self-knowledge, authenticity, and service. Now we will delve into peak experiences, moments when the soul touches infinity, and that profoundly mark the self-actualized, because the journey does not end at the top of the pyramid, it simply changes altitude. Abraham Maslow, when studying self-actualized individuals, discovered something surprising. Many of them reported mystical, sublime moments of deep connection with the whole. These moments, which he called peak experiences, are instances of ecstasy in which the person feels elevated, fulfilled, and integrated with the universe. Maslow described peak experiences as episodes of complete immersion in the present, feeling of unity with the cosmos, suspension of ego and time, intense clarity, peace, and profound gratitude, perception of the sacred in the ordinary. They can occur during meditation, childbirth, artistic creation, a walk in nature, or even in a simple act of compassion. According to Abraham Maslow, during a peak experience, you desire nothing, you are complete. These moments are open windows to what he called transcendence, the level beyond self-actualization. Transcendence for Maslow is when you no longer seek only to realize yourself as an individual, but rather to serve something greater. The good, the truth, the beauty, humanity, the divine. It is the point where the I dissolves into the we, and where personal purpose merges with universal purpose. At the Ikigai channel, we understand that these experiences are not fantasies. They are revelations of the soul. They are memories of our essential nature, spiritual, infinite, connected. Maslow believed that all human beings are capable of experiencing these moments as long as they cultivate openness, authenticity, inner silence, and love for the truth. Peak experiences are milestones on the journey of awakening. They do not last forever, but they transform us forever. They are invitations to remember who we are, why we came, and what connects us to the whole. In the next section, we will explore how Maslow's theory evolved after his death, what criticisms arose, and why, even today, it remains one of the most powerful maps for those seeking to live with purpose. Because once you touch infinity, you never live the same again. Maslow's theory has spanned decades, influencing psychology, education, marketing, human resource management, and self-awareness. However, like all great ideas, it has also been subject to criticism, revision, and expansion. The criticisms of the pyramid are: 1. Hierarchical rigidity. Many scholars questioned the idea that we need to satisfy one level before moving to the next. In practice, we see people seeking self-actualization even in contexts of basic deprivation. Poor artists, persecuted activists, mothers in precarious situations living with dignity and purpose. Real life is more fluid than the pyramid suggests. 2. Lack of scientific foundation. Maslow's original theory was based on clinical observations and interviews, not on rigorous experimental methods. Despite this, it proved to be intuitive and inspiring, but it lacks solid empirical proof. 3. Western cultural bias. The emphasis on individuality and personal self-actualization reflects Western values. Eastern cultures, for example, value more the collective, social harmony, and transcendence of the self. At the level of evolutions and expansions of Maslow's pyramid, we have 1. The transcendence level. At the end of life, Maslow proposed a new level above self-actualization, transcendence. Here, the individual goes beyond themselves and serves something greater, spiritual, universal, communal. This level was little publicized, but it is profoundly relevant for those seeking awakening. 2. Alternative models. Theorists like Clayton Alderfer, ERG theory, Richard Barrett, and Scott Barry Kaufman revised and expanded the pyramid, proposing more dynamic and updated models. Scott Barry Kaufman Folkbar Datar, for example, proposes a more integrative model that combines safety, connection, and growth into a more fluid system, inspired by the metaphor of a candle rather than a pyramid. 3. Modern applications. Maslow's pyramid is widely used in education to motivate students at different stages, management to engage employees in a more human way, marketing to understand what drives the consumer, personal development to guide the journey of the self. For the Ikigai channel, these critiques do not invalidate Maslow, they only enrich his vision. The true value of the pyramid lies in reminding us that we are complex, dynamic, and constantly evolving, that we hunger for bread, yes, but also hunger for soul. The journey of self-actualization is alive, organic, unique. It does not always follow a sequence, but it always points upward. In the next segment, we will reflect on the relevance of Maslow in the 21st century and how his ideas continue to serve as beacons for those seeking purpose. Because even in a hyper-connected world, the greatest map is still within. We live in an era marked by unprecedented technological advances, but also by crises of identity, anxiety, loneliness, and lack of meaning. We have never been so connected, and at the same time, so in need of genuine connection. In this scenario, Abraham Maslow's ideas gain new relevance. His theory, far from being a rigid model of the 20th century, reveals itself as a vast, powerful map for modern soul dilemmas. Why does Maslow still matter? Because we are still seeking purpose. Even with artificial intelligence, social media, and globalization, what still drives human beings the most is the question, what is the meaning of my life? Self-actualization, or Ikigai, remains the most sought-after beacon. Furthermore, because we get lost in distractions, amid the excess of information and pressure to perform, many disconnect from their essence. Maslow invites us to look inward, to listen to the inner call. Another reason is because human needs remain valid. Despite external changes, we still require emotional security, genuine belonging, true esteem, space to create, grow, and be. And finally, because the top of the pyramid remains unexplored. Most live on autopilot, not tapping into their highest potential. Maslow reminds us, you were born for more than just survival. You were born to fulfill yourself. Your work is used today in positive psychology and purpose coaching, humanized education, empathetic leadership in organizations, secular spirituality, and inner development. Many contemporary thinkers reinterpret his theory through the lens of neuroscience, mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and the ethics of care. On the Ikigai channel, we see Maslow as a precursor to modern seekers, someone who pointed the way to integration between science and soul, between body and spirit, between the self and the whole. Your final message was not about climbing a pyramid, but about inhabiting the entirety of being. If this video touched you, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. More than that, start your journey of self-realization today. Recall your passions, rediscover your rhythm, rebirth in your purpose, because your Ikigai is not outside, it's inside. And as Maslow said, what a human being can be, they must be. Thank you for walking with us. See you in the next video.